If you've ever watched one of my videos on here so far, you probably notice that I speak with a lot of pauses and some hesitation, and I go kind of slow sometimes. The reason for that, as I understand it, is that I am not a fantastic linear thinker. I don't come to these well prepared. I have some ideas in my head. I have a topic. I have a few thoughts about it. I've had maybe a lot of thoughts about it, but they're not all written down. There is no script for these. And they're not in a nice organized list in my head. So sometimes I get done filming one and I will go, oh man, there were a couple of points I forgot to make. It's really frustrating. But I let it be. If you have heard me mention, the reason I started this channel is because of my other channel. The other channel is about our experiences raising our son with spina bifida. And I was not comfortable speaking to the camera. My wife was doing much better at it than I was, and I said, I need practice. So I decided to start this channel where I would just talk about something that had been on my mind lately as an opportunity to practice. Some of it's talking off the top of my head, some of it's preparing my thoughts, but it's practice nonetheless. And just looking into a camera lens can be a very disconcerting thing until you've gotten used to it. I feel like I'm used to it now, but I still don't feel like I'm actually good at it. I've had a hard time finding time to make these videos because we've been out of our house for a remodeling project for about 4.5 months. We just got back at our house this last weekend. Now, with all that said, this is actually a great lead in because the point of this video is that while I have never been diagnosed specifically with ADD or ADHD, attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I have a lot of the symptoms and always have since I was very young. I was on medicine for some when I was in school, on and off. Some of the problems my dad felt, well, to quote him, he said, you can't medicate laziness. Not a man known to mince words. He felt it was merely a self-discipline issue and I was being lazy and that's why I struggled with things. And other people saw it as a focus issue and of course I'm drawing a blank on the term I want now, but the part of your brain that really handles organizing thoughts and focus and things, that it just doesn't operate the same as the typical person. Because of that, I struggled in school, focusing on doing schoolwork, homework, things like that. I loved learning. I loved school. Socially and educationally, I thought it was great. Had a great experience going through school in terms of my education and social stuff. Some people grow up hating school. I was fine with it. I even enjoyed it. Look back on it with a lot of fond memories. My grades, however, might lead you to believe that I struggled a lot. And I guess I did in that sense. All that to be said, now I have an 8-year-old son struggling with very similar issues, although he does also seem to have some hyperactivity issues. And while I took it all in stride as a kid, that was my life. I dealt with it. I'd never known any different. It breaks my heart to see my son deal with a lot of the same issues. He says he doesn't like school, but he goes. He doesn't complain about it unless we ask. Hey, how was school today? Or he'll say it was good, but then you ask for specifics and he can't give you any. It's too big of a question for him. You ask, how was your day? What'd you learn? And he sees the day as one big giant mass of memories and can't break it down into smaller pieces, can't find a place to start. That's how I was when it came time to write a paper. I saw the whole thing as a giant task in front of me, I guess, and I couldn't break it into small pieces and find where to start, and so I struggled so badly with starting. If I had to write a paper about something, that was the worst. But once it was started, get that opening paragraph done, and I could probably rattle off a lot of the information and write it down and do okay. Still, hard time getting thoughts organized first. When the age of computers came, because I'm that old, I remember writing papers by hand. I thought a typewriter helped, and then eventually a computer and a word processor, and being able to write everything, but then cut and paste to actually put it in order after it was written helped a ton. Still does. I still do some things like that. But watching my son struggle with this is hard. He's on medicine for it now. It helps. But then he gets home from school, and shortly after, by the time I get home from work, the medicine is wearing off, and his hyperactivity and his scatterbrained mind, we'll call it, are just out of control. And while I can relate to so many of the things he struggles with, I struggle being the parent to a child with the same issues. So I've learned a lot of sympathy for my own parents. I think that's a common story when you raise kids. You learn to respect what your parents went through and dealt with, and it changes a lot of your views. So now, as an adult, my wife thinks that I should still go see about getting diagnosed for ADD or ADHD and possibly going on medication, thinking it might still help me in my daily life. And I suppose it's possible, but I don't know that I excel in my daily life, but I function well. I've held jobs for a long time without having to change, or I've never lost a job. I get up, I go to work, I'm responsible, I do the work well, hold a good reputation at work. So I don't think about it much anymore. I don't think about it as being something that affects me like it did as a kid. She sees it differently. She sees how it affects me, and I don't know what to think. But anyway, probably time to wrap this up. I'm just sharing my thoughts on maybe being a person with ADD or ADHD, and definitely raising a kid with it. It seems like these days, it feels like everybody has some degree. It's kind of like an autism spectrum where everybody seems to be on a spectrum somewhere if that spectrum extends far enough. Everybody relates to ADD or ADHD in some area of their life. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a diagnosis or need one. But what are your thoughts? Do you have it? Do you think you have it? How do you cope with it, whether you're on medication or not? Do you have kids who are dealing with it? How are you handling that? I'm not here to judge whether you medicate yourself or your kids or not. That's none of my business. Some things require it, some things benefit from it. I know there can be downsides, but that's a personal decision. I'm not here to talk about that. And I would appreciate not getting comments on that about my own son. It is what it is. But a lot of it is just being a parent and how do you relate to your kids. I've been through a lot of what he's dealing with, and I want to be there for him to help. But I'm so far removed from those days that I don't know if I have any answers. Plus, I don't know that we ever found any good answers for me at the time. The world has changed. Schools are more receptive to the idea that kids need some special accommodations. But I don't want to take advantage of a school. They have so many kids to take care of. I understand why they said they couldn't do that when I was in school. Well, we can't cater to every individual student. It's true. I understand. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your input, and understand why I pause so much and why I talk slowly in these videos. Have a great day.